Hello everyone, I welcome you all for the session of sliding contact bearings part 4. So, the today's objective of discussion is to study the Raimondi and Boyd's method and the temperature rise in the bearing. Next objective is to understand the selection of parameters in bearing design. So, here is the equation 6 mu into u in bracket da by h by da by x equals to this term. This is nothing but the Reynolds equation which we have derived in my previous video. So before watching this video, please go through my previous videos of sliding contact bearing. So now, this is the Reynolds equation, and actually there is no exact analytical solution for the finite length of bearing. So for a particular length of bearing, there is no exact analytical solution. But theoretically, we can find out the solution for infinitely long or very short bearing. So these two solutions are called as Sommerfeld's solution. Now the solution for Reynolds equation is given by the scientist A. Raimondi and John Boyd. These two scientists have worked on this equation and they have given a particular solution. Now what they have done, they have used a technique of iteration technique. Now by means of computer, they have formed number of iterations and the results of these iterations are in the form of charts and tables. So now the performance of the bearing is expressed in terms of dimensionless parameters which are given by this two scientists. So the method is also called as Raimondi and Boyd's method. So now today we have to go through that method. So as we are saying, the results are in the form of charts and table. Let's go through the table. Now this table shows you dimensionless performance parameter for full journal bearing with side flow. Here are the different parameters which are discussed under the method of Raimondi and Boyd. Now here if you are knowing these parameters, either one or two parameters, then you can easily find out the other parameters. So let's see how these parameters are obtained. Now the method is Raimondi and Boyd's method. Here you can see the hydrodynamic journal bearing. So here is the shaft, or which is called as journal. Now ns is the journal speed. Here is the bearing. This is the fluid between the bearing and the journal. Now O is the center of the bearing, whereas O dash is the center of journal or a shaft. W is the radial force acting on the shaft. O and O dash is that eccentricity. Capital R is the radius of bearing, small r is the radius of journal or shaft, and where H0 is the minimum film thickness. Now here phi is the angle between W and the radius. We'll talk about this phi later on. Now here you can see now radial clearance C, it is given by, now we know that the clearance in the bearing is given by capital R minus small r. It is capital R minus small r, radius of bearing minus radius of journal. That is the clearance between the journal and the bearing. Next is eccentricity ratio. That is nothing but the ratio of eccentricity to the radial clearance. Now from the diagram you can see over here, capital R can be written as, so this from this point to this point there is a total R. So capital R can be written as small e plus R and plus h suffix 0. So capital R is e plus small r plus h0. Now this can be written as R minus R equals to e plus h0. Now from this equation number 1, R minus R can be written as C. So C becomes E plus H0. Again from equation number 2, you can write E as C into eccentricity ratio. So this is the equation. Now again, if you are dividing by C throughout, then what remains? 1 is equals to, now this eccentricity ratio plus H0 by C. Now again eccentricity ratio can be written as 1 minus h0 by c. Now this is the minimum film thickness variable. So you have got two parameters over here, that is eccentricity ratio, and one is minimum film thickness variable. So now again here in the diagram you can see, if you are knowing L by D ratio and if you are knowing any one of both out of both, then you can find out this rest of the values. So here we have seen about 2. Now next we'll talk about this. Now next is S, that is nothing but Sommerfeld number. It is given by the formula R by C bracket square mu ns by p. Now we know that small r is the radius of journal, C is the clearance, radial clearance, mu is the viscosity, and ns is the journal speed. Now here you have to remember that journal speed is given in revolutions per second. Every time we take in RPM, but here in this case we have to convert it into revolutions per second. And P is the unit bearing pressure, that is the load per unit area or projected area of the bearing. Now basically this Sommerfeld number, whatever the parameters are there in this, or whatever the variables are there in Sommerfeld number, that are controlled by the designer. Now here next is we have to talk about phi. In the diagram we have seen that it is the angle between the radius of journal and radial load. So this is called as angle of eccentricity or attitude angle. It is a position of minimum film thickness from the direction of load. It is a position of minimum film thickness. Next we have to talk about coefficient of friction variable. Coefficient of friction variable. So it is denoted by C, capital C, Fv. It is given by R by C into F, where F is the coefficient of friction. Now here again you can see in the table, this is the term over here, R by C in bracket F. We have talked about Sommerfeld number and angle of eccentricity. Now we are talking about this. Now it is given by coefficient of friction variable. So now next is to find out frictional torque. Now what is the significance of this actually? Once you are knowing this, then you can find out F. So if you are knowing F, then you can use it to find out frictional torque. Frictional torque is force into distance. So frictional force. Frictional force will be radial load into coefficient of friction. So Fw into R. Now frictional power. Once you have calculated frictional torque, you can calculate frictional power. So that is given by 2 pi nt. So here 2 pi ns, journal speed, and torque is nothing but Fwr. Now that is in Newton mm second. Newton mm per second. So in watts you can write it as 10 raised to minus 3 watt. So again for kilowatt, you have to multiply it by 10 raised to minus 3. So what you will get, kilowatt frictional power is equals to 2 pi ns in bracket Fwr by 10 raised to 6. So this will be in kilowatt. So kilowatt frictional power. So this is one formula. So now next variable is flow variable. So here in the diagram you can see. Now next we have to talk about these three variables. So let's see how they came. Now flow variable is equals to Q by RCNSL. Now where Q is nothing but flow of lubricant. Flow of lubricant, it is given in the unit, that is mm³ per second. So if you are knowing any two of this, if you are finding any two of like if you are knowing L by D ratio and if you are knowing Sommerfeld number, then you can find out rest of the things. So from this you will get rate of flow of lubricant. Okay, now again now flow of lubricant is along the journal. At the same time some amount of flow of fluid is leaked. There is some leakage. So that is given by, so rate of flow of fluid in leakage is given by Qs. So from the table, you can find it from the table. How to find Qs? By knowing this ratio from the table, Qs by Q. Now next, you can find out the maximum pressure in the bearing by finding this ratio from the table, P by P max. Now actually this is assumed that oil is supplied at atmospheric pressure. This is assume that oil is supplied at the atmospheric pressure, this pressure. Now if your pressure is increased, then Pmax will ultimately increase. So this is how we have talked about Raimondi and Boyd's method. So with the help of table you can solve it. When you will be solving numerical, you will get more clear idea. Now next we have to talk about temperature rise in the bearing. Now as we know that as there is a sliding contact bearing, so there is a friction. It's a frictional bearing. So frictional work is converted into the heat, and this increases the temperature of the bearing. So we are assuming that whatever the heat is generated in the bearing, that is carried away by the total oil flow. So whatever the oil is flowing through the bearing, that carries the generated heat. Now we are having the formula of frictional power in kilowatt. So this is the formula. Now heat generated will be equals to this frictional power. So heat generated formula is given by this formula. And now we know that there are two terms we are having. One is we can find out coefficient of friction by using this formula, which we have seen in previous slide. C by R in bracket CFV. And also in my previous video we have talked about this. In case of Petrov equation, we have seen this formula. That is radial load is equals to 2P RL, where P is unit bearing pressure. Now substituting these two values in the above equation of Hg. So the simplified equation you will get is 4 pi ns RCPL into CFV by 10 raised to 6. So again it is rearranged by writing this 10 raised to 6 as 10 raised to minus 6. So this is the formula of heat generated. Instead of learning this formula, you should learn this and this too, so that you can easily memorize it. Now next is heat carried by oil flow. Now we know that heat carried by oil flow, it is given by mCp delta T, where m is the mass of lubricant oil passing through the bearing. Mass of lubricating oil passing through the bearing in the unit is kg per second. And Cp is specific heat, kilojoule per kg degree Celsius. And delta T is nothing but the temperature rise. Now our area of interest is to find out the temperature rise in the bearing. So now again we can write it as m as, now we know that density is equals to mass upon volume. Therefore mass will be density into volume, and volume per unit second, that can be written as flow rate, in terms of flow rate. So m is equals to density into q. We have the formula of q is equals to RCNS into L into Fe. Actually we are having the formula of Fe, that is q by this term. So we can rearrange it and substitute this value of q in equation of mass. So m is this much, and substituting m value in this equation of heat carried by oil flow. So you will get a simplified equation of Hc. Or we have assumed that whatever heat is generated in the bearing is carried away by the total oil flow. So equating these two equations, Hg equals to Hc. So on equating, some of the term will get cancelled out. So R, C and Ns will be cancelled by this. L will be get cancelled. So rest are the remaining terms. So by rearranging this term, 4 pi P upon density into Cp into CFV upon Fv. So that is nothing but the formula of delta T. Now for most of the lubricating oils, density is 0.86 and Cp is taken as 1.76 kilojoule per kg degree Celsius. So substituting these two values over here, density and Cp. So simplifying this, you will get 8.3 of P into CFV upon Fv. So this is how you have got temperature rise. Now again you can find out T average. That is nothing but the average temperature of the lubricating oil. It is given by Ti plus delta T by 2, where Ti is the inlet temperature of oil. Now, next we have to talk about bearing design selection of parameters. So, in the initial stages of the bearing, there is need to select suitable values of different parameters. Now, that different parameters we have to see under this bearing design. So, first parameter is length to diameter ratio. Now, in case of hydrodynamic bearing, diameter of shaft is designed based on strength or rigidity consideration. It is not designed based on the bearing capacity. It is designed based on strength or rigidity consideration. It depends on permissible stress, permissible lateral deflection, and the permissible angle of twist. Now, the length of the bearing is decided based on a bearing capacity. Now, length to diameter ratio affects on the bearing performance. So, if the ratio is high length to diameter ratio, then in that case, there is increase in pressure. There is increase in pressure in the bearing, which increases the loading carrying capacity of the bearing. So, here is the diagram. If your L by D ratio is 2 and if your L by D ratio is 1. So, the diagram shows you if the L by D ratio is 2, then this is the area on which the pressure is generating. So, pressure will be more as compared to the pressure due to L by D ratio equals to 1. So, you can say if there is high length to diameter ratio, pressure in the bearing increases. So, this increases the load carrying capacity of the bearing. Now, at the same time, when your L by D ratio increases, length of the shaft increases, it means. And we know that longer is the shaft, so there is a chance of deflection. So, due to the deflection, deflection in the shaft, this leads to metal to metal contact. So, it can lead to the increase in friction. So, there will be more wear. So, that will be harmful for the bearing. Now, next is, in case of high length to diameter ratio, it is not possible to supply this sufficient amount of oil throughout the journal or throughout the bearing. So, there is a problem of insufficient oil flow. Now we will see what happens when there is less length to diameter ratio. So, when the length to diameter ratio is less, there is an increase in side flow. And this two drawbacks of high length to diameter ratio are overcome, and there is increase in side flow. So, this increases the high heat dissipation. So, this is the advantage. So, the preferred values of L by D ratio is equals to or less than 1. Now, if L by D ratio is more than 1, then the bearing is called as long bearing. If it is less than 1, then the bearing is called as short bearing. And if it is equals to 1, then the bearing is called as square bearing. So, this is what we have discussed about length to diameter ratio. Now, next we will talk about unit bearing pressure. Now, unit bearing pressure is nothing but load per unit projected area of the bearing. It depends upon the number of factors such as bearing material, operating temperature, nature, frequency of load, and the service conditions. So, based on applications, actually unit bearing pressures are given in this table based on some application. So, here are the different applications, and here is the value of unit bearing pressure in Newton per mm square. So, based on application, we can select the suitable value. So, range is given. Out of that, we can take average value. The next parameter is startup load. The unit bearing pressure for the starting condition should not exceed more than the 2 Newton per mm square. Now, what is startup load? It is static load when the shaft is stationary. It includes the dead weight of shaft and its attachments. So, again, this startup load can be used to find out the minimum length of the bearing or journal. Now, next parameter is radial clearance. Now, radial clearance, it should be small in order to provide proper velocity gradient. But however, this requires costly finishing operations, rigid mounting and clean lubricating oil. So this increases the initial and maintenance cost of the bearing. So high initial and maintenance cost. So the optimum value of the radial clearance is given by 0.001 into R. Again, for particular materials, we are having the range of radial clearance for babbitts, copper lead and aluminium oil. These are the range. So while solving numerical, based on material, you can select the radial clearance again. Now next parameter is minimum oil film thickness. Surface finish of the journal and the bearing is governed by the values of minimum oil film thickness by the designer, and they are vice versa actually. So lower limit of minimum film thickness is given 0.0002 into R. This is the lower limit. Below this there is the chance of metal to metal contact. So this is a lower limit of the minimum film thickness. Next parameter is maximum oil film temperature. Now lubricant oil oxides if the temperature exceeds more than 120. So therefore operating temperature should be kept within the limits. So limiting temperature is 90 degree. So generally used limiting temperature is 90 degree. So even if you take the example of babbitt material, it tends to soften at 125 degrees Celsius. Then your bearing pressure is 7 Newton per mm square. So you can say at the higher temperature, lubricants or materials become soft. So the limiting temperature is 90 degree, which is followed while bearing design. Now again, bearing can be designed based on two conditions, that are maximum load carrying capacity and minimum frictional loss. Based on these two conditions, normally the bearing is designed. Bearing should have high load carrying capacity, and there should be minimum frictional losses. So again, if you are knowing L by D ratio, so H0 by C for maximum load, these are the values. H0 by C for minimum friction, these are the values. So I hope you have understood this. If you are having any doubt, kindly write in comment box. Thank you.